Okay, so this is a quick update to show you how to fix envirospawn. It had problems when you start adding colliders. These things start acting like bubbles and floating in the air. So I've added a boolean, bEnabled, and you generate and then tick that and then tick tick. I'm not going to do it on that one. I can do a new one. Should I do a new one? I suppose I better. So that's 1,000 there. So let's create an empty object. Spawn of 4. Spawn of 4. Oh, the trouble is, of course, as they collide with each other, if it hits any collider, it will just put it on float. So we're still going to see a few floating bushes, but we'll do it anyway. Let's see how we get on. envirospawn. Let's make it another colour, shade of green. There we go, nice green. Prefabs 1. We're going to drag in bush 3C. Population 1,000. Dimensions, blah blah blah. Rotation. Oh, that's the Y rotation. Oh, I'm with you. So if we do like a 30 rotation, because I think that's what was causing the bushes to go all wacky. So we say 40 on the X. Or, I don't know, 90, no, that's too much. 45, 45. We can have probably that amount of rotation, I don't know, just guessing. Right, so there's nothing there, so we hit generate. Nothing appears to have happened, but it has. It's created all the things down here. Oh, and the other thing is, I didn't move the dimensions. I'm going to change the dimensions to 800. 800. It's not happy because I jumped ahead of myself. Okay. Oh no. 8,000. 800. Double click. Find it. Double click. Oh no. I'll just make that 1 then, just to speed it up and regenerate. There you go. Let's go back. Right, let's find our plane. It's settled on the ground, so we've got to... There we go. So... What's happened to the others? Is it... They haven't disappeared, have they? No, they're still there somewhere. Maybe they don't conflict with each other. Oh, maybe I could mask them or something. Anyway. So... 800 by 800, and I've moved it up above the land, and I'm about to scatter these bushes. So let's make it population 1,000. Regenerate. And because I've not this bEnabled, as soon as I tick that, boom, and then I immediately tick it off again. Although it's supposed to do that anyway. But whatever. And it seems to have done it really well without landing on the others. So let's have a look. Play. There we go. And we've got very few floating bushes, if any. Although I have noticed that I did have a few others, so I don't know what's happened to the other ones. That's cool, very cool, and they all work. And I'll go into the code in a minute. Let's just check this one. Are you all there? No, you're all here now. So I've got to enable you again. Eek. Okay, so if I do enabled and off again, are you going to conflict with the other one? We'll find out. Probably should put them in different layers. We're going to use different boxes, or maybe it's clever enough not to fight each other. Is it clever? No. So what's happened here is the second spawner is fighting with the first spawner. So we're going to have to put these on different layers. So I'm going to have to go a bit deeper into envirospawn, which I don't. Well, yeah, basically we're going to have to set each spawner to spawn their bushes on a different layer rather than the default one. Otherwise you're going to end up with colliders clashing with each other and you end up with the floating bushes again. But at least we're getting rid of the animated floaty bubble thing. And to do that, like I said, I created a bool, bEnabled. So if we bring in envirospawn script, double click it. I have a pathological fear of messing around with code. I just don't want to go near it. If I can at all help it, I try to avoid going near code. Because you can do one tiny little spelling mistake or capitalization, and it's all broken, and you've got to track it down. So in the main environmental spawn, switch the thing on and off. Public bool bEnabled equals false. So we start off setting it as false. And then instantiation, all fine and dandy. Instantiate new. Oh right, so after we've instantiated them all, so we've got this function public void instantiate new. So it instantiates them, and then as soon as it does that, I'm switching off bEnabled. Although I wonder if that affects all things in the scene. I don't know. No, I don't know. Update data. So yeah, always be wary of things with updates. So because that always they can start running in strange places. So private void update data, and all I've done is if bEnabled. So if it's true, then open square brackets. Do all the code, very clever magic stuff, and then there should be, oh that's right, and we can follow it along here, and I had to put an extra bracket in there, and it shifted it all along. So all I've done is encapsulate the update data into a bool, which you can click on and off at the editor. I was thinking I needed to do more with the button press. Save that, compile it. I suppose I should go over it again. So I've added a public bool in the bEnabled equals false, and then on instantiate new, right at the end of instantiate new, wherever that is, switch off bEnabled equals false. So switch it off after you instance it. And then on the update data, only update it if needed, if bEnabled, open it up and encapsulate all that magic code, and then at the end of that update procedure or call, close brackets. So if bEnabled, update, and that's in update data. Let's zoom in. Right. So, to go over it one more time, at the beginning of the declarations, we do public bool bEnabled equals false, semicolon, and that's the enabled. Then on instantiate new, it does all its magic, and then at the end of it, just before we end that function of instantiate new, we do bEnabled equals false. So it creates all the objects, and then we switch it off because we don't want it to do anything. And then to update data, we'll only update if the bool is enabled. It'll do all its stuff, and then at the end of that procedure, you stick another square bracket. And hopefully you can follow that along. Because I can't, well, I could ask him if I can distribute the fix. I might do that, so you don't have to go anywhere near the code, which I highly recommend not doing unless you're really good at coding. But that just fixes it a bit. So now, when we've got this border, we just click. We click generate to generate the objects, then we click enabled to get it to hit the ground, and then we immediately click it off again to stop it turning into bubbles, if it doesn't automatically do it, which I don't think it does, unfortunately. Click. It's a solution, and hopefully the guy who's making the code, this code envirospawn, can, which is awesome by the way, can do a more sophisticated thing and stick it into these functions maybe. So you hit generate and then it disables itself after it's generated. Yep, so that was just a quick fix for envirospawn to stop the floating bushes. You notice there was still some floating bushes because we're using two spawners, one on top of each other. So what we need to do then is set up some layers following the instructions, which I'll have to look into in how to use or readme. Let's see. Select layer mask, which will ignore all unwanted surfaces. So ignore all unwanted surface. I don't know. There's something here we can do to just get it to ignore the other things. It's going to take a bit of reading to figure that out. Alternative, well, because it's going to be difficult because, although to be fair, well, no, even with stones, because I'm thinking we're going to scatter a whole load of stones in here. I imagine it's in the example file actually. Let's bring up the example. Because I imagine that, save this? Yeah, sure. Probably should have saved that as test 1e actually. Next time. If we bring up the example scene, Chris development is. Thank you very much for this code. It really helped. Reloading in? Reloading in. So, layer mask, ignore mask, avoid mask. So I don't know how did he get it so, oh I see. No, hang on. Let's get a forest one. No ignore masks. How did he manage that then? Oh, because they've not got any colliders on. That's why. So it can just shunt it down. So as soon as you add collide, and also some of them are just avoiding. But when you've got colliders, you see, it will start, the raycasting will start hitting the colliders. So we need, I don't know how we would. How do we avoid the colliders? We can switch all the colliders off. That's one way to do it. But I would have thought the avoid mask or ignore mask. It's probably the ignore mask we need to. Oh yeah, there we go. So we could set ignore raycast. I think that's what we do. We set, if we've created like loads of rocks, say, that's not loads, but over here, this lot. There, and we set that layer of that one to ignore raycast. Scared. I'm not going to save this, but I think that's what you do. You set the layer to ignore raycast, and then you should be able to spawn on top of them without the colliders affecting it. Maybe. I've got to test it. But the other thing you can do is disable the colliders during the creation phase. Because once you've used it to spawn them, you don't really need this here anymore. You can just strip out the script and stuff. So whilst you're creating the level, if this ignore raycast trick doesn't work in the ignore mask, ignore raycast. So ignore anything in the raycast. It should work, but if that doesn't work, then we can switch off the colliders and create the stuff and then switch the colliders back on again. Auto generate lighting. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Not going to save that. We'll close. Still bring up tests again. Without that. Test 1b. Do not save. So yeah, we've got the ignore raycast level. I suppose we could try it out. That's taken a long time to load this stuff. But at least the frames per second are pretty cool. Alright then, let's see if we can set spawner 3 to ignore raycast. Yes, change children. Then spawner for ignore mask, ignore raycast, regenerate, is it? Regenerate. And then update and off. Let's see if that's ignored the colliders. Fingers crossed. Looking good, looking good. I don't see any floating bushes. Although I also don't see the other bushes. Problem. Okay. So it's switching this one off too. So we need to, how do we do this? Regenerate all in scene. Alright. Regenerate all in scene. Okay, so the problem is that it's messing, doing this is messing the original spawner up as well. So we enable that and switch it off before it starts floating in the air. Then we do the next one. And we enable that and switch it off. Right, so that's done both layers hopefully. But yeah, this isn't the ideal way of doing it, but it's brutal and simple. Oh, it didn't work. It's still having a problem with the colliders. Okay. Well, it's one step further, which is we can get one layer to work with colliders. Okay. Did that stay on? Yeah, that's on ignore. Oh, these are probably not object colliders layer. Well, I suppose we could, instead of, okay, we could change the masking. So if we regenerate this, so that will regenerate them all in one place. Boom. Both of them. Anyway, so we set this one to object colliders layer. So okay, let's just set that. Ignore mask object colliders. So maybe we'll be lucky there. Because what's happening is it's spawning the prefabs, but the prefabs have got a built-in layer, which is the object colliders layer. That's for the collider trigger to work with. Right, so spawn this one. Boom. Switch it off. Spawn this one. Boom. Switch it off. So I've told it to ignore object colliders layer. Whether or not it does is another matter. We will see. Yeah! So there we go. We've now got envirospawn to work. It's got my lovely renderer texture on it and meshing the formation so it wiggles a bit. Got a lovely sound effect. Got footsteps on the avatar. We're in business. There you go. We got there in the end. So what did I do to get it to work? I I made sure that the spawn of 4 had an ignore mask, which is object colliders layer, which is where all the bushes reside, because they've got all these colliders. So there you go. Hope that's of use, and see you on the next one.